Warning: the following video presentation contains scenes of extreme deliciousness. Failure to either eat first or bring a snack to consume during the presentation could result in wanting to lick the screen or in some way act the fool. Ain't nobody want that. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK.
Hey folks, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing okay. It's Friday instead of Thursday like I normally do, but had a good reason for it. Got a somewhat frantic call yesterday requesting my assistance, which thankfully it wasn't anywhere near as bad as she thought it was. So thankfully everything worked out alright. So I'm here today to make what I was going to make yesterday. Hey Scott, how's it going, man? Hope you're doing all right today. So on the menu, we've got smothered pork chops that we're gonna do. We'll bread them, fry them, make the gravy, and then chops back into the gravy, so that'll be good. Making dressing, which a lot of people call stuffing, but it's not being stuffed into anything, so it's just dressing. Mrs. Hueso is a big fan of it, and so I figured, you know what, haven't made it in a hot minute, so I figured why not. And then we're doing a tomato salad, something a little bright to kind of offset the dressing and the smothered pork chops, so it's it'll lighten everything up. And then for dessert, we'll have a blueberry cobbler. So I should get cracking to it. Good, I'm glad you're doing alright, Scott. Hey, Avocado Green KitchenAid. So yeah, the first thing I want to get started, because of the way that everything is going to kind of work out, the cobbler and the dressing I'm going to bake at the same time. So I want to get those prepped and into the oven, so then that way we can focus on everything else that needs to be taken care of. The tomato salad will probably be the last thing that we do because that'll come together super quick. So anyways, the first thing that I got going here is literally the blueberry cobbler, and it's probably about the simplest thing in the world to do. In my case, we've got some blueberries that are starting to head down the road to turning a little bit. So I figured let's use those to make the cobbler, and I just have whatever blueberries that we had minus ones that I picked out because they weren't looking very good. And I'm just hitting them with a little bit of sugar. And this is maybe a couple of tablespoons at most. And those are just doing them in an 8x8. Because there's a lot of empty space in there, and this is just going to cook down. Stem. And gonna get just yummy and delicious. As for the topping is about as easy as it gets. It's literally a box of yellow cake mix and a stick of melted butter, which I've got the butter on the stove ready to go. And I'm going to end up making brown butter with it. something, I'll stir it together with the fork, and we can call it good from their point. So, to the stove. Oh, that's interesting. The stove cam is frozen.
We haven't even started yet!
We haven't even started and it's frozen. That's crazy. Well, what's weird is the thing's on, denoting that it should be working. What the heck? That is so strange, especially since right like before starting and everything, I tested it just to make sure that, you know, everything was working all right. So I gotta wait for that to melt a little bit before I turn it to brown butter. I was really kind of hoping to show that, but
did you get the immersion thingy? The hot plate thingy you got for your birthday? It was
the induction burner.
That one.
The induction burner, possibly. Yeah, we might have to get that out for the rest of the stuff. But for the time being, I'm just melting this over gas. As for the dressing, I don't really have like a written recipe or anything like that, but what I do have, and I'll show it since we're here. Bread cubes are out of season, as it were, and so I had to get a loaf of bread and cut it up and dry it out, which is what I got here. Then we're going to chop up some onion and celery and mushrooms, water chestnuts and garlic, and saute those up and throw them in. And then I've also got some mild Italian sausage that will also cook up and add to it. Yeah, I know, right, Scott? Technology sometimes. So when it comes to making brown butter, I'll talk about it once I get back over there, I think. When it comes to making brown butter, the thing is you can't just leave the butter in a pan and let it do its thing, because the water will eventually get to the point where the heated butter fat will just cause it to pop and explode. So it probably wasn't terribly visible, but at the stove, what I was doing is, and you might have seen me doing it, I was just swirling the pan and keeping it swirling, because by doing that, I've just found that it keeps all of that under control. And so what ends up happening is there's a sound change once the water is completely evaporated out of it, and then the bubbles start to turn to a tight foam as opposed to larger bubbles, and then you start to see the actual brown milk solids pop up. And yeah. Anyways, it's super delicious. That's what I usually put on my popcorn. Audio over the stove is working. I hear the butter sizzling. Well, it might have been the sound from this mic. I don't believe the sound is on the camera over the stove. I'm pretty sure I had it muted. So after pouring the butter in, I'm just tossing it with a fork, trying to get it mixed up and actually have it form those cobbles. Like to break up some of the larger ones so then that way they're more evenly sized. And then it's just a question of spreading them over the top of the blueberries. I mean, it's that simple. Stab the blueberry. That's okay. It's gonna end up breaking down with the heat anyways. I've got my oven set for 350 Fahrenheit. And that'll be what both of these end up baking for. And this should be all blue and craggy. Blue. All the best words. Okay, so that's done. So I can move that off to the side here. Next up, the dressing. So, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, into the dressing, we're gonna chop up some onion and get that sauteed up. We're gonna chop up some celery and get that going. Yeah, it is a super easy cobbler recipe, right, Scott? I mean, it doesn't, because you can get those cake mixes usually on sale for like 99 cents or something like that. And then it's just whatever fruit you happen to have on hand. And so, any fruit that you want to bake into a cobbler, you know, you can totally do that with. So, you know, apple, peach is super common. Really, it's whatever you want. Strawberry. So yeah, okay. Also peelant. Alright, so I got onion, I got my celery. I got some mushrooms here that I've already washed up and got ready to go. Got some sage that we picked from the garden because my baby loves sage in her dressing. So got that. Got some water chestnuts, since those are which she also loves and are tasting there, and I've got some garlic that we'll chop up.
Scott says you said a stick of butter?
Yes, yeah, a full stick of butter. A full stick of butter. It sounds a little crazy, but you can see that it's, other than a little bit of dryness, so if you wanted to add a little bit of additional butter in order to get all of the cake mix to crag up like that, you totally can, but a stick is usually plenty for it. And then at 350, I'll usually bake it for 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depends. It really depends on what the fruit ends up looking like, as well as what the topping is looking like. If the topping is turned a nice, you know, brown, then that's usually a good time to go ahead and pull it and let it cool down, so it's not like you're eating napalm, because that's never fun. So, okay. Need onion, mushrooms, celery to get all chopped up, and half of this onion we're going to actually use for the smothered part of the pork chops. So half the onion will go into the dressing, the other half will end up going into the gravy. I'm just doing a dice on this, and it's what I will also do on the mushrooms. Then we'll get those going on the stove. These are just mushrooms that I had in the fridge. Got some buttons, I've got some creminis, but I'm aiming for about the same volume as the onion. I think 4 is probably right. That's mushrooms, that's onions. Probably, maybe, let's add 1 stalk, maybe 2. Alright, let me go give these a quick wash. Hey, Yusuf, what's going on, man? Exclamation point menu.
Oh, Soldiers of Giants is here.
Oh, right on. What's going on Soldiers of Giants? How you doing?
There, Blur.
That's cool. Hang out.
Yep, feed those birds good stuff.
Do what you gotta do. Alright. So I just finished watching the Trainwreck 99, the Woodstock 99 documentary on Netflix. Really interesting. Because I remember watching it on MTV, and I remember like when they evacuated them. I remember some of the kind of the aftermath stuff, but I didn't realize like the state police had been called in, and quite the extent. But it was fascinating, just kind of like looking at the behind the scenes and everything that kind of led to the breakdown. It was just, I don't know, it was really fascinating to read it, because I was in my early 20s at the time, and I remember it. And I remember not wanting to go to it because I didn't really care about the bands that were playing, really. It's like there was a couple of bands, it's like, okay, yeah, it'd be cool to see them, but, you know, I wasn't into, like, Rage Against the Machine, I wasn't into Limp Bizkit, I wasn't into Korn, I wasn't into Kid Rock, and so didn't really appeal to me all that much, other than the fact that it was like, okay, it was going to be like this huge thing. So.
How much were bottles of water?
Oh, bottles of water were being sold for $4 each, and this is back in 1999, mind you. Okay, I'm going to go put these sauteing up on the stove, and I'm going to get it going with some Italian sausage. There we go. The pan is actually on the stove this time. See, there's my hand. And I washed that. So this is a 1 pound chub. And I'm just gonna add the whole thing.
Our lunch was
very disappointing. Mrs. Hueso didn't take lunch to work today because a co-worker was like, hey, I want to bring lunch for you guys. And so she's like, okay, cool, yeah.
It was very nice of her, and I choked down every bite and thanked her profusely. But it was not that good. She meant well, and what's crazy is my co-worker, the one we have the drinking game for?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is really good! I'm like, oh, clearly. It could have been amazing. There's just, people need to learn how to salt the water when it comes to pasta. Salty like the sea.
It's true.
What it was. So I just thought, like, this is easier. I don't want to type. It was mac and cheese with tomatoes. And one of the cheeses she used was mozzarella.
Manchego?
It's a Greek cheese that you...
Mizithra.
That's it, Mizithra. That's why I came in here. And it could have been amazing, but she didn't salt the water when she did the pasta, so it was very bland. And the tomatoes didn't really have that much flavor either.
That happens.
Yeah, it was like she took a can of diced tomatoes, which is fine, but you gotta have seasoning and stuff to it. What kind of bread are you using? Sorry, new topic. Shiny. Look.
Ooh, shiny. It's a loaf of, like, just white bread.
White bread's good. Smells good.
In true, you know, honor of your mom. Because that's all she would use is white bread. Although hers was very, very wet.
She would get... Okay, so we grew up on my mom's dressing. Absolutely love it. Of course, you know, Decay is like, my mom's dressing's better. It's great. It's just not the same. It's like in and out. You grow up with this flavor that you love. Anyways, my mom's dressing was, she'd buy the cheapest white bread and then let it dry out. And break it up. And then she would boil all the...
That was fresh saved toast. Sorry, you can't see that. Hang on.
Woo!
This was fresh sage leaves that I just minced up. Go ahead.
Yeah, but so my mom did white bread. She would take the giblets and boil them in water and then use the broth, if you would, and pour it over and make it really wet. But she would stuff the bird. I was a little hesitant that dressing's not going to be their stuffing, but that's not true. Yeah, see? I thought it was stuffing too. But no.
Since it's not being stuffed in anything, it's not stuffing.
It's not being shoved up a turkey's bottom. It's called dressing. And this dressing is excellent. I've learned to appreciate it more. But I do love the sage. Mom would do sage and thyme. And a buttload of buttered onion, sauteed onions. Anyway, can I answer your question? I'm very grateful for my coworker. She literally called her day off. My another coworker and said, "I'm bringing food for you and Katie." Like, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. Free food, good food, and I choked on everybody. There's a couple times I was like, "Oh, choke it down, smile and nod." I was grateful, and it was free. Good game.
Thanks. That was just bunt glitter that I spread over the top of everything. Now, I will say, in my own defense, the flavor of her mom's dressing wasn't what I took issue with. It was the texture. Because it was mush. Because there was so much liquid that it was literally like mush. And it was just, the texture... Like, I don't normally, like, texture doesn't really affect me very much, but the texture of that was just like, what is happening? But that was just my issue. Since I have a moment. There we go. Water chestnuts. Since that's doing its thing, run my knife through. That's good to go. Back to the stove. Okay, this is looking good. Okay. Oh, actually, I don't need that. And I totally dropped it. What'd you find, Jane? Find something good? Okay. So the only fat that was in the pan there is the fat from that sausage. There it is. However, the pan that I'm going to end up putting it in, this, I'm not even sure what you call it, like a, I don't know if I'd call it a casserole or like a cassoulet, or what exactly, but,
Oh, the pan?
yeah, the pan. So I just got a clean paper towel here and some butter, and I just want to grease it up a little bit just to help not only the edges brown a little bit, but to make it a little bit easier to hopefully take out. I mean, if you wanted to use like a non-stick spray here, you totally can. But butter. Alright. I'm just getting some hot water.
Hot water!
Okay. So now, this is going to need to be moistened. And so I'm just making a quick chicken bouillon. So this is 2 cups of hot water, so I got about 2 teaspoons of the powder here. And I'm most likely not going to use the entirety of it. But I won't know until I start like giving this a mix and then start slowly adding it. I'm gonna hit this with a bit of pixie dust. Oh, that's the pixie dust. Since the pixie dust has the herb component in it. Okay. Alright, let's start. Alright, so that was nearly half a cup. Order take. Oh, that was me. Never mind. Alright. Still got a little bit of less, so let's add a bit more. So that's about another half cup. Okay, I think maybe just a touch more, and I think that will do it because we're almost there. Okay, I'm happy with that.
How long does it cook for?
45 minutes to an hour.
What are the shrooms for?
The gravy for the pork chops.
Ooh, gravy pork chops.
Dressing is in the pan, ready to go. So I'm going to take this and the cobbler down into the small oven, and we'll set a timer. All right. There we go. 30 minutes. So in the meantime, I'll give this a quick rinse. There we go. So now that will be way easier to clean later. Okay. Now, as for the pork chops, what's in the abalone dish? Dressing. What most people would call stuffing, but it's not being stuffed in anything, and so it's a dressing. So that's in there. And blueberry cobblers in the other one that just went the other two. Oof. OT at work. But hey, just man with power 6, eye on the prize. So.
Is she planning on going?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
I'm just eye on the prize. Man with
I
power
have-
6.
Every time I'm like, I need to buy. No, man with power 6. I'm gonna suffer. My clothes are gonna fall apart. I don't need nothing but man with power 6. We just got new internet, which saves us money. We got rid of Dish. It's a huge deal. We've had Dish our entire marriage for the most part, and we got rid of it.
The two don't eat dressing stuffing enough. Ooh, blueberry cobbler. Nope. Hourly. Oh. So, for the pork chops, in the gravy itself, the biggest components are going to be the onions here and the mushrooms. So I'm just slicing these up at the moment, and then we can start actually on the pork chops themselves. Now, I will say that the ones that I got are on the thinner side. Which is a little bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. So the plan is to season up the pork chops, dredge them in flour, fry them up, pull them out, then throw in the onions and mushrooms, and garlic, and some fresh thyme. Probably use butt glitter in it, and then cook it kind of, long, low, and slow in order to really get some good color on the onions and the mushrooms and caramelize them before deglazing with a combination of chicken broth and heavy cream. So, August 18th and 19th, yeah. Yes, indeed, on the Soldiers Giants. It's going to be a huge new wave of Nice Metal Buds meet up.
Hey! What are you working at? Hey! Come on! Don't want to make the neighbors angry! Come here, you two!
Okay. So that's that. You can get those out of the way. Got thyme that I harvested from the garden out front. I'll just strip the leaves right into it when they're needed. There's no point in taking them off first. And then let's slice up a couple of cloves of garlic. Okay. Vegetation all chopped up. Just to make my life a little bit easier. Then garlic on there. Got the thyme there. Okay. I think, other than getting the pork chops prepped and ready to go, the only other vegetation to get all prepped up is the tomato salad, so I might as well do that now, since it's going to be a little while.
Then that silicone.
Oh, it's probably the Friday night, Hajime no Ippo stream, I think, that he's doing.
Doesn't matter, gotta give me some salt.
So the sumo channel that we follow, and whenever the tournaments are on, they stream usually in between tournaments, like Fridays, Saturdays, and so during the actual tournaments you can gamble with the channel points, and so it's kind of like whenever they're on, it's like, oh, we go and log into it to collect channel points, so then that way when the tournaments come along, we've got the channel points to gamble. They call the channel point salt, since salt is what gets used quite a bit to purify the ring, as it were. Are you signing me into it? Thank you. Ah. Since, I've got BTTV set up, tomato salad. Yeah, it's nothing fancy. It's literally like I got a tomato medley at the market. I'm gonna toss in some green onions. Well, I'm gonna cut those up. I have a little bit of green pepper that I can toss in there. I think sunflower seeds and just a dressing. Just relatively simple, and I kind of wanted the brightness and the freshness of the tomatoes in order to cut through the richness of the gravy part of the pork chops, as well as the richness of the dressing. So I'm just trying to balance it all out. And since I got tomatoes here that I've already pulled and washed, I mean, it's a nice little variety of, you know, varieties.
You know,
varieties.
Is that our Canadian brand?
It is the Canadian brand, but I don't know if they were actually grown there. Because the last package from that particular grower said product of Mexico, which I was a little surprised by. Yeah, like the oblong ones I usually will like in half, but then in the slices, the round ones I'll usually do like in quarters. And basically just to make it a little bit easier to eat, as opposed to taking, you know, big bites of tomato. Although I was watching a food video the other day of I think it was a Korean place. Their specialty is hamburg steak, which is just a kind of a glorified hamburger patty, but they usually end up adding, it's almost, I guess it would be better to call it almost like a meatloaf patty, really, because they add like milk and then breadcrumbs, making a panade in order to like keep it, you know, real juicy and stuff. But one of the toppings that for one of them that they were doing is they were blanching and marinating whole tomatoes, and so they would peel them and then marinate it in I want to say it was like lemon juice, and then there were some herbs that they added to the mix, salt and pepper. But then they, yeah, it was just they'd hang out and marinate in that before being placed on top of it on the plate. And I want to say underneath it was, I think a potato puree, but I don't quite remember. So it's hard to say.
You have mayo in the cart here.
Yes.
Do you want me to get it?
I believe so.
Anything else you want?
I can't think of anything, and that's part of the reason why I didn't. Was because it was also trying to make me purchase it through Fresh. And so I didn't want to do that without talking to you first. I'm trying to think, the next sumo tournament's only a couple of weeks away.
Oh, that's right. Oh, maybe 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think about 3.
Oh, no, the 11th.
Yeah, it's the 11th. So yeah, it's about 3 weeks, I think, is when the next tournament starts. So I'll have to do some themed stuff to go along with it. Alright. Got that. Yeah. Let's throw a little bit of green pepper into there. I need to look up and see where the September basho is.
I'll Google it for you right now.
That would be awesome. Because it would be kind of fun to do something specific to the city that it's being held in. At least 10 months to figure it all out. It's all true, whatever. Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah, we're considering a couple of different options on the Soldier Giants for Mad with Power. On the one hand, the idea of staying at the official hotel seems like it would be great. But on the other hand, I think there's something also to be said for staying off-site. But I don't know. We'll see.
I'm leaning towards the hotel.
Leaning towards the hotel? Okay.
Yeah. Now, the only benefit if, like, we did an Airbnb, like, Pickle could stay with us.
True.
Maybe on the Soldiers of Giants, or somebody else could stay with us, but you would have the ability to cook.
That is true. That is true. I would have the ability to cook if we stayed at, like, an Airbnb.
But the Airbnbs are far more expensive than... Of course, we'd be splitting with other people. It's not out of our pocket.
Yeah.
Out of our pocket.
There's a lot of options and things to consider. MWP Sites says they'll have event pricing. Okay, yeah, see, that helps. See, this is the part of the talks and what we were talking about in terms of, like, okay, so it's going to depend on, like, where we would end up flying into. It's going to depend on, you know, anything else going on with that. I mean, for all I know, I could end up, you know, working it. I don't know.
What do you mean by that?
For all I know, I could end up, like, you know, having, like, catering a dinner party or something like that.
True.
So,
especially with Lords of the Trident and UTA there.
Yeah, exactly. And since Lords of the Trident will be, like, coming through here in April of that year on their way to hyperspace. So, $259 a night right now. See, that's not too bad. Oh, yeah. Yep, I got my Ravenous patch in the mail and had it sewn on that night. So, yeah. Lots of stuff to consider. So, okay. Let's get to pork chops. Okay. Hi, little puppy.
Can you think of anything else?
I don't know. I can't really... Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Plus, now it's not really the time.
What?
Okay. My non-slip mat. So the pork chops themselves, nothing fancy with the seasoning. You don't need a sous chef if you're catering, hint, hint. Yeah. Yeah, that, I mean, I'm literally just, like, throwing stuff out there. Like, there's nothing that's been talked about. There's no, like, oh, hey.
The sumo tournament, September 11th, is Royal Goku.
Okay. Where?
That's what I just said. It's in, I think it's a suburb of Tokyo.
Okay. Alright, so for tonight, I'm gonna do, I think, 4 chops.
Yeah, it's Sumida City, Tokyo.
Okay. So it's a suburb of Tokyo. Alright, good to know. So yeah, this was like a variety pack, and so like they threw in a couple of weird ones.
Thinking about amount of power. So not that far from the venue is a
Excuse me.
Korean barbecue place. I'm thinking we should all go.
I'm in.
You're down to clown?
Would you seal that up and put it in the meat drawer?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking these need a bit of a
Do you want to be sous chef, Scott? I'm okay with that. Usually it's me, but...
Well, see, but then that also brings up a number of other logistical issues, because it's like, okay, well, I don't know what kind of facilities I'm dealing with.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we went to an Airbnb, you'd have to break some stuff, which is...
There's a lot of things.
we back? Okay, we're back. That's weird. Gotta love technology sometimes. Okay. So all I'm looking to do is just get a little bit of a coating on these. And shake them out. Still got, okay. Still got some.
Man, what a day!
What the heck? Oh yeah, this camera is like totally turned off now. That's weird. Okay, so we're back. And magically, the pork chops have been breaded and we are good to go. Alright. So I'm actually going to hang on to this because I'm going to want like a couple of tablespoons of flour to help build the gravy in order to kind of help thicken it up a bit. I don't know why I just put those tongs in there. Into the sink. Oh. That's okay. I can just grab up the tongs. So also into the gravy, we're going to add about a half cup or so, maybe a little bit more of heavy cream, and probably around 2 cups of the chicken broth. So I'm going to go top this off and make a bit more so we have it. And then that way we'll have it all over at the stove and we can just do it all there. So let me grab this stuff since I'm walking over. Oh, 30 minutes. Oh my goodness. So a faceplate just popped off the water cooler. It's kind of par for course today, it seems like. Alright. Chicken broth. There we go. And take this. Let's change that up. That. Anything else? I think we're ready to go. Alright. So into the pan, I'm actually going to do like a half and half of butter. Accidental Chaos? Oh, right on. Hey, Accidental Chaos, what's going on? Yes. So I'm doing half and half butter and oil. So I get, you know, flavor and smoke point. Alright. And that'll be what we brown the chops in.
Why a combination?
Butter for the flavor, oil for the smoke point. Because it'll actually raise the smoke point. It's just kind of a weird science. Okay, so that's starting to go. And as soon as it stops foaming, we'll add the pork chops. The timer did just go off, so I do need to check. Okay. Well, that's starting. Let's set 2-minute timer. And let's check the dressing in the Cobbler. Ladinthio, what's going on? Okay, so our dressing is looking pretty good, but it's not quite there. And then the cobbler is nice and bubbly, but the top has it brown. So I'm gonna put 15 minutes on the clock. That focuses. And then we'll check it again. I'm just going to put the pork chops in the pan that I use to saute the stuff up for the dressing. Just so I don't dirty one more thing. Oh, heavy cream. Need that. Been having all sorts of tech goblins today. Pretty chill, nothing too major. Hey, that's not bad. Sometimes, you know, honestly, like the chill days, it's awesome. Yes, we have started watching She-Hulk: Accidental Chaos. I've been enjoying it. Have you been enjoying She-Hulk?
Yeah.
Yes, we've both been enjoying She-Hulk. I will say the second episode, I don't know, it felt short to me. Like, I kind of felt like I needed a little bit more meat to it. I don't know. Just doing a bunch of leveling in WoW Classic. Okay. We get that. Two more minutes on the clock. Yeah, no, I totally understand grinding out levels. I mean, especially, you know, back in the Diablo 2 days, and then when Diablo 3 was first released. I happened to get in on the beta of Diablo 3, and so, like, I played that first section a ton of times with each of the character types just to kind of see what I liked. But I do remember playing through Diablo 3 like the first time, and after beating the final boss and going back and playing again, I was just like, I don't know, I was bored, and so I put it down. But I picked it up again, I don't know, it was, I guess, however long ago, whenever Andy picked it up and was playing it for a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll try it again. And I was playing through it, and again, I was bored. So.
Are they redoing it?
It was like D2, Diablo 2, like a big graphic update. I've never touched WoW or Diablo more, but Pokemon and Winter. Okay, like, I've never touched WoW. I remember before it was released, and I remember it being released, and I remember thinking to myself that I could see how it would just become my entire life. And so I intentionally have never touched it. I mean, I knew guys that would, in the very beginning, they would build characters, level it up, and then sell them. In the very beginning. Now let's do one more. Hey! What's going on, Zodic? Zodic? But yeah, I know my personality enough to know that it's like there are some video games, and it's I think part of the reason why I stopped really playing was because if I get sucked into a game, I get sucked into a game, and it's not healthy for me to do that, which is why if I do anything, it's usually really casual, like, hey, Maria, how you doing? So, and honestly, it's no, like, judgment on anybody. This is just purely for myself. I understand that it was a massive community building thing, and it was such a massive cultural phenomenon. Okay. Okay, we got some good color on there. I'm going to add some more butter to the pan because we don't have a whole heck of a lot of fat. And, well, I kind of need something to saute up all the onions and mushrooms. So I've turned the heat down specifically so that, because I really want to like brown them. I want to caramelize the onions and mushrooms because that's really going to be like the single biggest flavor component of the gravy. Color equals flavor, black is burnt. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I've never played it, but it was, you know, I knew kind of enough about it tangentially, because literally, like, all my friends played it. I talked about a couple of guys that I knew that would, in the beginning, like, they would play it, build up a character to the max level, and then actually sell it. This was while I was in culinary school, and there was, like, a couple of guys that were living in the dorms, which were off-campus apartments, and they were either like in the video game design program, graphic design. There's a whole bunch of different guys, and I know of at least two that flunked out and were, you know, because they were pouring all their time into playing it and doing it. They ended up, you know, selling these characters for a decent chunk of change. So it wasn't like, I don't know. I don't think they were making enough to justify the amount of hours needed in order to do it. But it was like they were kind of cooperatively helping each other level up. Because if I remember correctly, there was a dynamic at the time where, like, you're playing with a high-level character, that you would actually gain more experience based off of, like, them. And it might have been an old mechanic, but I believe that was kind of like their MO. It's like, okay, we're making a new one, so get your guy, and they'd go do raids and, you know, kind of all their things. Playing so much I almost flunked out of the electrical engineering department. Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people did that. Doom LAN parties in the high school. Nice. Yeah, I mean, LAN parties that I can remember, it was physically you had to take your computer. You know, there was no way you could game over the internet. It just couldn't. It wasn't a thing at the time. But you could, if you had a Switch, link everyone's computers together and play in person. So, I do remember trying to play like StarCraft over dial-up, and it worked sort of, but it was really unreliable. There we go. Alright, let's hit it with a little bit of salt. Yep. 486 DX2 66 megahertz. That's right. Either 20. Well, it started out as a 28, but then no, actually, the first modem that we had was a 14.4. Then I remember getting a 28.8 until the 56 came out, and then we had that. So.
I don't know how to ask this, but how do we compare that to the streams today? What's the difference?
So the 486 DX2 that I had was a 66 megahertz. Like they're running at like 4 gigahertz now, so it's like 66 versus 4,000. And it's not only a single CPU. You're talking about 16 or 32 even. It's just orders and orders of magnitude faster and more powerful. Yeah, you can't even compare them, because I mean, you're talking about like dinosaurs versus, you know, modern day, like a Ferrari or something. Really. I'm playing so occasionally that I bought a PlayStation in April and played just a few hours up to now. Oh, wow. What are you playing, or what were you playing, Maria? Mm-hmm. Pictures loading line by line. Oh, yeah. I remember that, too. Going over to friends' places and be like, hey, let's, go on this bulletin board. And, like, 5 minutes, for a single picture that was, like, super low res to load. Oh, right on. I've heard very, very, very good things about the Uncharted series. But the last PlayStation that I bought was a PS2, which is actually in our front room. Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song. Oh, okay. The last Vampire the Masquerade that I played was pen and paper. Actual book RPG. That was a long time ago. That was 98, I think. Yeah, I think 98 was the last time I played. Yeah, it was before we met. But I was in a group and, they played and we had fun. There was a whole, subculture. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, so in the town where I grew up, and there was a whole bunch of locations, there was a place that started up called Virtual World. And at Virtual World, they had 2 games that you could play, and you would go in and sit in a pod and play collectively with the other people that were in the room, and then sometimes they would hold tournaments that would actually take place between different locations. One of them was BattleTech, and so it was all mechs. It was a mech battle, is really what it was. And so you could do different weapon configurations, different mech configurations, and things like that. And there was another one called Red Planet, which was barge race through the mines of Mars. That's kind of the best way to describe it. I played BattleTech mainly. I only played Red Planet like a couple of times, but after the first time, it's like, okay, this is fun. And I mean, I had the experience of like playing driving games, and so it was like, oh, okay, cool. But you're literally flying this barge through the mines. There's different obstacles and other players and things like that. Oh, time to check the stuff. Wrong timer. Okay, the dressing is looking pretty good. I feel like Cobbler needs a little more time. So, more time it is. But here's what the dressing is looking like. Indiana Jones is a PC game. Yeah, very vaguely. But yeah, the dressing has come out very nicely. I can actually get rid of this. And I'll take this stuff away since I'm here. Okay, 15 minutes on the clock. I think I can turn this up a little bit. Oh, snap! Tie. Hopefully you've gotten some sleep, good sir, after putting on what appeared to be a pretty amazing event that we desperately wished we could have been at. And we also greatly appreciate all the streaming. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're very much looking forward to going to the next one. It's on the calendar. We are doing what we got to do in order to make it happen. So I will be there in my apron. So that's the plan.
I want to print out little Mad with Power 6 logos and put them like right next to the computer and in my wallet. So every time I go to spend a dime, like,
it's like, no,
nope,
eye on the
Mad with
prize.
Power 6.
Mad with Power 6, eye on the prize.
We're gonna eat PB&J's. Just kidding. We're not that hard up, but
I did have a PB&J earlier today, though.
I was just kidding.
I had a PB&J earlier, but yeah, that's the plan.
We're very excited.
We're super excited, and
that's an understatement. Like, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
so.
we're very much looking forward to it.
And thanks for that.
Yes.
I had to wander in to talk to Zach.
Okay.
Guys, cool peeps.
Yeah, but in the tactile snacking booth in the back. Hey, actually, Zodic, it's funny that you mentioned that because we were talking about, and going to it, we're like looking at, kind of the ticket prices and stuff and budgeting and everything like that. The types of tickets. And not gonna lie, we very seriously have considered doing one of like the gold sponsorship level ones to sponsor a band. So, just saying. Who's a gamer the most, me or her? You know what? I'm gonna say, to answer your question, Maria, Mrs. Waiso. She plays games way more often than I do.
I play games on my phone every day.
Yeah, she plays games on her phone every day. Yeah, we're getting some good color on this. So we're almost at the point where we can start building the gravy for the smothered pork chops. But yeah, she plays games on her phones on a daily basis. I play occasionally. Most of the time I'm like, you know, working on other stuff. Usually things like teaching myself DaVinci Resolve or things like that. So, and even in my downtime, I usually like will just put on like YouTube or something like that in order to give my brain a break. So I don't have to think about anything just because I've been thinking about stuff most of the day. So, yeah. At any rate, for those that are now joining us, currently on the menu, if you can read that, we're doing smothered pork chops. The pork chops have been browned. Now we're building the gravy in the pan before we add the pork chops back. Dressing, which has come out of the oven and is right there. Tomato salad that I threw some green peppers, and there's sunflower seeds on top at the moment. It hasn't been dressed yet. And then the blueberry cobbler is still in the oven because it hasn't quite browned up enough for my taste. So that's where we're currently at. Indeed. Let's stir this stuff. Alright, I think we're good to start building the gravy. Now let's throw that garlic in. Turn the heat up just a little.
In the dishwasher?
Yes, they are.
I'm gonna feed the dogs.
Okay. Alright. That's just a bit of flour from the dredging that I'm adding to the pan.
Did you pull a dog food out of the freezer?
Negative.
Let me do that before I forget.
I'll remember.
I won't.
Okay. So all I'm trying to do is cook the flour a little bit so then it doesn't taste so raw and like, nah. Because raw flour is no bueno. You gotta toast it a little bit if you're using it to kind of build a roux to make gravy. Okay. Chicken broth.
I think this might be the last of the dog food.
Oh, so it's probably time for me to make another batch.
Time for another batch. Where's the scale?
It is underneath the, to your right.
Oh. Thanks. Have fun taking the pup out, Scott. Thankfully we have a yard.
That's just some black pepper that I'm adding.
Although Big Guy Jay's been barking at a neighbor. They have something in their yards, got him excited.
Well, I'll go out there sometimes and he's just like barking at the air. I think it's the dog across the street.
No, because he's at the fence.
Oh.
He's at the fence and every hair is standing straight up.
Ah. Alright.
We have a retired Sheriff? I think it's his house. It's a couple doors down.
This is just fresh thyme that I'm stripping into the gravy here.
Fresh thyme, did you get it from the garden?
Yes.
Nice.
You gotta be careful with fresh thyme. If you add too much, it gets really medicinal.
Woo!
Like, not good medicinal.
Not the good kind of medicinal.
No.
Not that we're into that kind of medicinal, but no judgment if you are.
Well, it's medicine.
True. Also true.
Is that the last of it, or was there some more?
No, there's a little tiny bit left.
Okay.
Not quite enough for a full meal. For both of them.
Okay. Just added a bit of cream. Couldn't tell you how much. Just kind of eyeballed it. I ished it.
I fixed the water cooler.
Oh. Oh. That's very nice.
The greater good.
Alright. Just want to let this reduce a little bit before we add our pork chops back into it. I'm just scraping down all the yummy brown stuff. There's flavor in that.
Greater good.
Okay. Those are just the collected juices. Yeah, I think it came out pretty good. I mean, the proof will be once we, actually dish up and see. Okay. I seem to be missing ribbons. That's weird. Cobbler there. Pork chops there. on, Wolf and Metal Beast. Okay, let's check that Cobbler. Oh, there we go. Blueberry Cobbler. Boom. Well, that is rocket hot, and I do not want napalm in my mouth. Okay. I do have vanilla ice cream for that. Yeah, the blueberries have all broken down and have gotten super bubbly and blue and all that fun stuff. The only thing left is to dress them tomatoes, and yeah, I'm thinking this. I'm just going with some Ken's Simply Vinaigrette Caesar, just cause. Keeping it simple. And that. I got tongs. There we go. Sweet. Alright, time to dish up. Get some of that dressing. There we go. That sage is really coming through. And there we go. Smothered pork chops, dressing, tomato salad, blueberry cobbler hanging out in the back. That's dinner. And I don't know about y'all, but I was hungry. Buen provecho. Itadakimasu. Yeah, I'm gonna tuck in. You know what? Let's go with some of this dressing first. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I think he'll be really happy with the dressing.
Okay.
Um,
I'll come give it a whirl.
Great flavor. Yeah, it's really good. The texture is what gets me more than anything, because the bread, it's tender, but there's a little bit of give to it. So it's not mushy, but it's not crunchy, but it's a little bit of both. If that makes sense?
Sure.
It's hard to describe because it's like you do have a little bit of crunch, but you do have the tenderness, but it's not all crunchy. It's not all mush. It's
all of the above.
It's all of the above. It ticks the boxes of what I was looking for in making this.
That's excellent. You chose wisely.
Not just for Thanksgiving. Oop.
This looks like a picture in a calendar or something.
Or like on a
TV show.
food blog.
A food blog.
Beauty.
Any questions?
There you go.
Oh, thanks. I started using this book, so
Oh,
I'll put this one back.
yeah, the cobbler does look awesome.
I'm gonna wait to eat that one.
Yeah.
Because,
It's like napalm.
yeah. It's still bubbling just every
Yeah.
once in a while. You
It's like gone down, but it's still kind of popping and bubbling just a little bit, which it's right behind that cam. But it's one of those things that it's like, okay, give it like say 15, 20 minutes and then dish some of it up and it should be perfect. And I got some vanilla ice cream to go with it. Now, the tomatoes are a really, really nice counterpart to all of that.
Did you move the pig?
Pig's hot because it's cast iron.
I know touch. I learned a while ago, no touchy anything in the kitchen. It's
Oh,
hot.
Maria's back. Her pizza's in the oven.
Nice.
I'm assuming you made your base pizza dough and then topped it, and that's what's in the oven right now.
Money shot.
Money shot. Did it play?
Sometimes there's a delay.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Did the money shot redeem play? Nope. I don't know why I just did that.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Yes.
Oh, it did? Okay, good. I didn't see it, so I wasn't 100% certain. Because there's, if I remember correctly, there's actually two of the money shot clips.
Money shot!
Looks like it flashed on the screen momentarily,
They're not very long.
but not for very long.
I mean, the clips themselves are pretty short.
Money shot.
Yeah, I saw clips play. Did they? I mean, did the sound come through and it go money shot? Like, was it on for the full clip or?
Did Brandy Max say money shot?
It was Brandy Max, and there was another one that said money shot. There were two of them. I heard the sound. Okay, good to know. Did you cut into the pork chop?
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
Oh,
I was looking for the bone. Like,
I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, she's looking for the bone.
that's one of the best parts.
The last one was a blip. Okay, then I need to tweak the time on it. Thanks, Wolfie Metal Beast. I appreciate that.
Mm.
You find that pork chop acceptable?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's not dry like most pork chops can be.
Mm. Yeah, because a lot of times they just get way overcooked. Like ideally, like I would sous vide it at 140 Fahrenheit for about, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that. Just so then that way it's like at the perfect temp all the way through, and it's been at that temp long enough to where any potential foodborne pathogens have thoroughly been killed. But it's still kind of on the medium rare side, so it's still really nice and juicy and tender without being dried out. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this.
Me too. Me too.
But yesterday was yesterday, and hey, I'm glad we had this at least.
Yeah.
But in theory, yeah, so the plan is we'll be back tomorrow. Not 100% certain what time yet, My guess is probably later on, just for the for like dinner and stuff, just because that's, you know, what I'm cooking. I have a plan for what I'm doing tomorrow, but I'm not going to say what it is just yet. In the event something goes sideways with it.
That never happens.
No, yeah, not that that ever happens. There are a couple of things that I need to get for it.
Procure.
I need to procure a couple of things, but it's not horrible, and it's not like, oh my gosh, it's you know, I'm gonna have to trek. I'm gonna have to trek across Portland into, like, you know, the deep South Portland kind of thing. So I'm not gonna have to venture quite like that, but if I can make what I'm planning on making, it should be pretty cool. Ice cream explosion? No ice cream explosion. Something completely different. Tomato sauce, Gouda, green bell peppers, a little bit of bacon. Nice. I'm guessing it's a kind of a young Gouda, so then that way it's nice and melty, since the aged ones tend to get significantly harder and don't really melt all that well, but they taste great. Like, I love me a good aged Gouda. Awesome.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. All kinds of awesome. I feel like I need to dish up the blueberry cobbler.
Still pretty warm.
Yeah.
I shall get out of your way.
Okay. There we go. Yeah. Got those nice big cobbles. We got them blueberries. Still super hot. Good though. Yeah. It's not overly sweet, it's like just the right amount of sweet. Especially since it's going to be paired with some vanilla ice cream. So it won't overpower it. But, yeah. Let's see. Oh, Midnight Sumo is still on. Okay. So, today, grape fava, split yellow peas from Santorini Island. Oh, very cool. Very cool. So, I think I'm going to send everybody over to Midnight Sumo, which is the channel that we watch when the sumo wrestling tournament's on. I think he's showing... oh yeah, so it's Hajime no Ippo. It's a classic boxing anime. So that's what he's showing at the moment. Unless there's somebody else on. Unless somebody has another recommendation for who to raid. Okay. Cool. Well, that being the case, everybody, let's whoop. Very good. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here today, this evening, even though it's not my normal time. Thanks for everyone that spoke up in the chat. Thank you to the lurkers for coming and just hanging out and, you know, just seeing what's going on. I know you're there. I don't know who you are because I don't look to see who's in the chat not saying anything, just because, you know, it's like, hey, if you wanted to make yourself known, you would. And I totally respect, you know, wanting to just hang out and, you know, just chill. So it's appreciated. But Santorini is an island with volcanic activity, so the ground there is good for some plants like grapes, etc. So, yeah. Thanks so much, everyone. Yeah, we're going to go raid Midnight Sumo. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Everyone have a good night, afternoon, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Take care. I love all you guys. And yeah, we'll see ya.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be?